We need to talk about the plane crash in the States, and it is as bad as it could possibly be in the sense that there's no survivors as far as we can tell. Passenger plane crashes into a Black Hawk helicopter in Washington, D.C., apparently the worst US aviation disaster in almost 25 years. Let's just have a look at the footage again. We don't show the moment of impact because we have kind of rules on that, which is absolutely fair enough. You'll understand, I'm sure. So there's the helicopter there, where my little finger is. And it travels. I'll show you a close-up in just a moment, but you can see it moving towards the plane, inexorably moving towards the plane, and then it simply blows up. And here is, look how, this is the confusing thing. This is a Black Hawk military helicopter with excellent visibility. They are going straight towards a brightly lit aircraft. They hit it, and everyone dies. And this is the great puzzle, is what on earth possessed the people in the helicopter to fly that path? Now, we'll talk about Trump's explanation in a minute, but this graphic in the Times is an excellent, if very poignant way of looking at it. So, step one, the UH-60 Black Hawk helicopter on a training mission follows the path of the Potomac at an altitude of 61 meters. Then here's two. 5342 jet is cleared by control tower to make a visual landing. So they're coming in down here. Now, once this path is set, they would not tend ever to diverge from it. So you would not, the pilot will never be expecting to have to break off what is his final runway approach. Then we go to 3. The tower controller talks to the Black Hawk and says, watch out for the jet. So the air traffic control were aware of this. And at this point, the helicopter has dropped 61 meters. So it's got to be taking surely some sort of evasive action. And it said, go behind the plane. And the next thing is there's an impact. And it doesn't really make sense because there's no way the people in the helicopter couldn't see the jet, no way at all, unless they passed out, unless they were having a fight, unless there were drugs. We just don't know. We do not know. And then, of course, the last thought is, was it deliberate? For what purpose? In his first comments yesterday, President Trump said that all 64 people on the American Airlines flight and 3 soldiers on the helicopter training flight had sadly died. He started his address by acknowledging the pain that Americans and grieving families around the world were suffering.
I speak to you this morning in an hour of anguish for our nation. This was a dark and excruciating night in our nation's capital and in our nation's history, and a tragedy of terrible proportions. As one nation, we grieve for every precious soul that has been taken from us so suddenly. This has really shaken a lot of people, including people, very sadly, from other nations who were on the flight. On behalf of the First Lady, myself, and 340 million Americans, our hearts are shattered alongside yours, and our prayers are with you now and in the days to come.
So that, you might think, is a regular statement of sadness that you would expect. But then things got a bit strange at this press conference because he began to blame particularly Joe Biden and Barack Obama for the tragedy because he said they'd allowed mediocre people to be working in air traffic control and that was part of these diversity initiatives that he's really got it in for.
I put safety first. Obama, Biden, and the Democrats put policy first. I think it's very important to understand that for some jobs, and not only this, but air traffic controllers, they have to be at the highest level of genius. It doesn't matter what they look like, how they speak, who they are. It matters intellect, talent, the word talent. They have to be talented, naturally talented geniuses.
The senior Democrats called Trump's comments despicable and stomach-turning. What do you think, Mike, of that?
I was very surprised when I heard him going off on that tangent because we were told second time round Trump wasn't as reckless with his speech as he was the first time round. But that was very reckless speaking. Did it have anything to do with the fact that I thought he looked very odd physically? I mean, he was very orange. He looks like he's got panda eyes, white round here. And I just wonder whether he'd been caught out, because it was late at night there, of course.
I think reading him, it's a case of him always wanting to go beyond what you think he's going to say.
He can't help
always
himself.
wants to surprise you.
I totally agree. He can't help himself.
No, and I don't know. It does seem tasteless to say it.
Very tasteless. I mean, somebody should have said enough now after he did the first bit and not go on to think.
And he's attacking when he
apportioning blame, the ex-president, privatisation, people who diverse people.
I was talking about friends last night, and I had thought by diversity he meant people of colour.
Yeah.
But they said no, it's women as well. Is that right?
And disabled people.
Okay, so this the phrase DEI, lots of people aren't familiar with it until the last year or so. Yeah. I only first saw it when there was the attempted assassination of Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, and you'll see these pictures. And obviously, this is just after the shooting, and he has to be surrounded by agents. And obviously, social media were all over this, and they pointed out, you may say very unfairly, that there are gaps in the shielding of Trump caused by the fact that some of the agents were women and were therefore too short. And there's then this, so you see that woman stumbling there. I'm not suggesting that I agree with that at all, because they could be the most brilliant agents. But there was then a separate picture of him, of one of the agents, again, by the big beast car, struggling to holster her gun. And social media was alive with Trump nearly died because of DEI. And I'd not heard it before. And I looked it up and it said diversity, equity and inclusion.
He was also said...
the lady with the shades can't holster her own gun, right?
Yeah. But it was also said that she couldn't pull him up off the floor because she wasn't physically strong enough to haul the president up off the floor.
And these were Americans tweeting, so it wasn't we didn't have a dog in the fight, but I looked up DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, and then I realised there's a whole political thing in the States about it that Trump and Trump then campaigned on it, didn't he?
No, he's getting rid of it. He's getting rid of the whole thing.
He says it's woke.
Finished.
Well, he's actually suspended people from some government departments who he says were appointed on the basis of DEI.
Yeah, well, that's a phrase now, a DEI hire, which is a really offensive way of describing somebody who's got their job because they're in a category.
Although one newspaper's followed up the story this morning saying that certain categories of people were barred from getting jobs as air traffic controllers in America during the Biden period.
So there's the sort of this awful scene
during the Biden period.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're just looking at pictures here of the Potomac, where there are 60 or more bodies. I think, was it 63 or 67, the final count? 67.
Have they recovered everyone?
And they haven't obviously recovered all of them yet. But also, by the way, there are skaters and there are certain people who've got, ice skating competitors and stuff. There's all kinds of stories coming out about the people in the wreck. I don't know whether it's appropriate for him to have mentioned this. However, I think you've got to say he is the most successful politician of our times.
Yes.
He's won 2 presidencies and lost one in between. Everyone predicts he's going to lose and he wins. And he knows how people think. And it may be that he thinks that 90% of his audience do think DEI has gone too far. And they'll say they agree with him.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying that there's a reason he says it. Right.